Here with his reaction to this historic day, Newt Gingrich, Fox News political analyst and former Speaker of the House. Speaker Gingrich, I'm struck by what today means. I'm struck by what it means for the legacy of the president. You had Biden, who in his first 6 weeks in office decided to convene historians to decide how he could be like FDR, but he was no transformational figure. President Trump has achieved that. Winston Churchill status.
Yeah, look, I think historians are going to study for the next 50 years to try to understand what was the magic that President Trump brought. He first talked about this in a speech that Jared Kushner wrote for AIPAC during the campaign in 2016. So he was thinking and talking about peace in the Middle East all the way through. And the amazing thing about President Trump, and maybe it's because he's a Gemini, so he has twins, he can focus totally on the moment, and yet the other part of him is strategically thinking years and decades ahead. And the two somehow come together in a way that's almost magical. I watched this afternoon, and Cliff and I both watched it. We watched Jerusalem, then we watched Sharm el-Sheikh. It's an extraordinary moment, and figuring out why is it that for all these years, Israel's been embattled for almost its entire nearly 80 years of existence. And now, suddenly, Donald Trump comes along, changes the whole game. No American president has done anything like this. Theodore Roosevelt got a Peace Prize for having helped bring the Russian-Japanese War together in, I think, 1905. But this is totally different. Here is a moment in history where you saw all these countries all coming together. You saw that Trump personally knew every person on that stage. You saw that here's somebody who can literally span the planet with personal friends, contacts, intermediaries, and represents a level of vision and a level of toughness. As he himself said, without the B-2 bombers taking out the Iranian system, we still might not be here. But that ability to come all the way from Missouri and to end up taking out all those facilities with such precision accuracy, that said something to the whole planet, that in fact the United States is still, by a huge margin, the leading power on the planet. And imagine how both Xi and Putin must have felt watching this, realizing that they were seeing the real leader of the world, and they're seeing the world gather around him voluntarily, not out of fear, but out of hope that with him, they're going to actually create a peaceful, prosperous, and safe Middle East.
I'm so glad that you described this as a well-orchestrated plan that really suddenly came to fruition, because both things are true. There were the Abraham Accords 5 years ago. There was a 4-year diversion from the plan with President Joe Biden. And then you had the bombing of Fordo, which was instrumental to making this happen. But I lay all that out because I want to pull up Antony Blinken here, of course, Secretary of State for Joe Biden. He says this: it's good that President Trump adopted and built on the plan that the Biden administration developed. Speaker Gingrich, that makes me bristle. This was not a Biden-era plan that came to fruition.
Well, it doesn't make me bristle. Look, the entire Democratic left wing is out of touch with reality and verges on crazy. Blinken is part of that group. Why would you think that he has any realistic sense of what happened? They were a disaster in Afghanistan. They were a disaster in Ukraine. They were a disaster in the Middle East. They were a disaster in Venezuela. Every time you turn around, left-wing Democrats do not understand the real world. They do not understand how it works. But you can't expect Blinken to go off quietly.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Speaker Gingrich, thank you very much for that insight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.